Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really massive shift in European medical research. You see, for decades, trying to launch a new medical trial across the EU was, well, it was a bureaucratic nightmare. But a brand new system is online, and it promises to swap that confusing maze for a single, streamlined superhighway for innovation. All right, let's get into it. So just imagine for a second that you're a researcher, or maybe a company with a new treatment that could genuinely save lives. You want to run one big clinical trial across a bunch of European countries to get the absolute best data. Sounds pretty straightforward, doesn't it? Well, it wasn't, not even close. Until very recently, that simple goal meant you were staring down a mountain of paperwork. You'd have to submit totally separate applications to every single country's national authority and its own ethics committee. We're talking dozens of different processes in dozens of languages, all of which just slowed science down and delayed getting new medicines to patients who needed them. Yeah, this old system was just a massive administrative headache. It created this totally fragmented, confusing landscape for medical research. That's honestly the best way to think about it. It was like trying to file 30 different tax returns, each in a different language, with its own unique rules. This made running big, multinational trials incredibly difficult and super expensive. And you know who that really hurt? Academic researchers and smaller companies. It just put a brake on cross-border collaboration. So the journey to fix all this, it's been a long one. Before 2004, it was basically a total free-for-all. Then a 2004 directive tried to bring some order to the chaos, but it didn't solve the main problem. You still had to do all those separate national submissions. The real game changer finally arrived in January 2022. It's called the Clinical Trial Regulation, or CTR. The CTR was designed from the ground up to completely overhaul the old system. The goal? To harmonize the entire process, from submission and authorization to supervision across all 27 EU member states, plus Norway, Iceland, and Liechtenstein. It's one single rulebook for one single market. Finally! And the philosophy behind this whole regulation really rests on three core pillars. First, streamline the administration. Make it way easier to run those big, important multinational trials. Second, a huge push for transparency, making information about trials open to the public. And third, and this is absolutely crucial, strengthening the safety and protection for the people who volunteer to participate in these trials. Okay, so that's the big picture. But how does this new streamlined approach actually work in practice? How do you really go from 30 different doors to just one? Well, the process is actually kind of beautiful in its simplicity now. A sponsor submits just one application through a central online portal. That single application covers all the countries where they want to run the trial. Then, the member states all work together on the scientific assessment, with one country taking the lead. And finally, each country involved issues one single final decision. No more separate approvals from health authorities and ethics committees, just one answer. It's a huge change. The digital heart of this entire operation is something called the Clinical Trials Information System, or CTIS. Think of it as the ultimate one-stop shop. Sponsors use it to apply, regulators use it to assess the application, and it also serves as a public database for the entire life of a trial, from the moment it's proposed to the final publication of its results. Now, here's a really clever part of the new system, designed specifically to stop things from getting bogged down. There are now clear, legally binding timelines for assessment, and if a country doesn't give a decision within that timeline, the trial is automatically considered approved. This is called tacit approval, and it brings a ton of predictability to the process. The bottom line is no more getting stuck in bureaucratic limbo. So you can see these changes are about way more than just making paperwork easier. They have a profound real-world impact on absolutely everyone involved in medical research, from the scientist in the lab to the patient at the bedside. And a huge piece of this new era is transparency. By making clinical trial information public, the system empowers patients and doctors to find trials they might be able to join. It helps researchers learn from what others are doing. And, maybe most importantly, it builds public trust in the whole scientific process, because there's so much more scrutiny. So who are the big winners here? Well, it turns out pretty much everyone. Sponsors, whether we're talking big pharma or smaller academic groups, see their administrative load just plummet. Researchers can now actually design and run the bigger, more powerful multinational trials that we need for high-quality science. And of course, patients and the public get access to information like never before. And that access is now the law. One of the key rules is that sponsors must publish a summary of their trial's results within 12 months of it finishing. And get this, it has to be written in plain, easy-to-understand language for the public. This makes sure that the knowledge we gain from a trial is shared with everyone, not just locked away in a file somewhere. So, the clinical trial regulation is obviously a massive step forward, but it's not the end of the road. It's really the foundation for an even bigger vision for European medical innovation. Building on this incredible momentum, European regulators have launched a new initiative. It's called ACTEU, and its goal is to take this new, harmonized system and use it to transform the EU into one of the most attractive, innovative places in the entire world to conduct clinical research. ACTEU has a pretty ambitious to-do list. It's looking to modernize the official rulebook to keep up with new technology. It's developing guidance for new kinds of trials, like decentralized trials, where patients can participate from home. And it's creating a space where patients, academics, and industry can all come to the table together to help shape the future of research. By replacing that fragmented bureaucratic maze with a single, transparent, and efficient system, the EU has done way more than just cut some red tape. It has laid the groundwork for a whole new era of medical discovery. The ultimate question really is whether this will unlock a wave of innovation that's going to benefit every single one of us. It's a pretty powerful vision for the future of science.